Hello! Today I'm going to talk you through a push-up preparation, so not the actual bending and straightening of the arms, but just getting yourself into a decent plank position. So to start with, you want to come onto the hands and knees. It's obviously really good for your shoulder stability and your arm strength, but it's a whole body movement, so quite a nice way of working everything in the body. I'm using push-up handles because my wrists don't like to bend, but if you're able to, then you want to place your hands flat to the floor, a little bit wider apart than your shoulders, and find a vertical arm alignment with your fingers spreading into the ground, ideally the middle fingers pointing straight forwards. So once you've found that vertical arm alignment and you've got the legs in underneath you, just need to think about your neutral spine to start with. So feeling that you've got the natural curve in your lower back, the natural curve in your upper back, and a tiny little natural curve in the neck. So you're looking down at the space between your fingers to ensure that the neck stays long. And then quite important that your shoulder blades are widening away from each other. Without rounding the upper back, you want to feel that you're pushing the floor away from you in order that your shoulder blades draw apart. There's a feeling of a little bit of work under here, under the back of the armpit. So once you've decided to push the floor away to resist gravity, you want to maintain that feeling. And then I'm keeping my pelvis and my spine very, very still as I take one leg back behind me. Flex the foot, tuck the toes under. So absolutely nothing has changed except for the movement of that leg. And then the other leg comes back to meet it. Again, absolutely no movement at all through the pelvis and the spine as I tuck the toes under and take weight on that second leg. Once I get there, I can just take a breath to hold the position, or I can take a little rocking movement, just dropping the heels to release them backwards towards the floor and then pushing through the toes to rock forwards. So it's a very small movement, but just allows me to test the length of the spine and see if I've got myself nice and stable, and then I can come back one knee at a time, just as slowly and carefully as if I'm balancing a hot cup of tea or coffee on the back of the pelvis here and I don't want it to spill. So one more time, you can obviously rest your wrists, have a wriggle, do what you need to do in between repetitions. And of course, as well as pushing the floor away to keep the shoulders very, very wide and dropped away from the ears, we want to feel that we're working into our center. So there's this all important connection between what we're doing in the shoulder blade and what we're doing in the lower abdomen. So you can imagine a little imaginary line going from the shoulder blade down to the low belly, and you want to keep that connection alive as you exhale to take one leg back behind you, tuck the toes under, and exhale again to take the other leg back behind you, tuck the toes under, finding that nice straight line. So I'm not sagging the pelvis down, I'm not sticking my bottom out, I've got a nice neutral alignment through the spine, and my legs are straight and active. So really I feel like I'm working pretty much everything. My whole body is active and participating in this movement. And then you can allow that little rock back and forth again, very, very small, whilst breathing. Shoulders are dropping away from the ears, shoulder blades are widening, and the tummy muscles are lifting to support the spine as I just gently floss the body back and forth from the heels to the crown of the head. And another version of that, if you're not happy about taking weight on your wrists, is to come down onto the elbows. It's sometimes a little bit harder, but it's a really nice exercise for the shoulders. So in this position, with your upper arms vertical, your elbows fairly narrow, not wider than your shoulder width, and with your palms turned upwards, it should be easy when you've got your palms facing up for you to pull the thumbs apart a little bit, and then you feel this work into the back of the shoulder. That's where you want to keep your attention in terms of your shoulder muscles. So you can see also that I've got my head much lower than my pelvis at the moment. And that's one of the tricky things about this. As you stretch the legs back one by one, you then have to bring the pelvis down and try and find where that neutral alignment is, where the middle is, so that it doesn't drop too low, doesn't remain lifted too high, but it's right in the center. So again, deep abdominal muscles are working. I'm pushing against the floor with my forearms. So I'm really trying to resist gravity with my forearms. I don't want to remain still for any great length of time. I might have a little rock back and forth, or I might just come straight back in by lifting the pelvis and bringing the knees back in one by one. Again, take a little rest, have a child's pose, have a little stretch out, and I'll show you that one more time. So whilst I am remaining still in position in order to talk to you, you don't want to hold a plank for any length of time. Ideally, you want to be moving. So again, thumbs pull apart so you can feel the back of the shoulders working. Your gaze is down so that you know the back of the neck is long, and you're trying to avoid any sense of collapse into the mat. Push the mat away. Really feel that you're resisting gravity as much as you can. And then as the legs come back one by one, you've got the job of dropping your pelvis just enough to make a nice straight line between your head and your heels. And then after a breath, you can lift the hips and come carefully back in with your knees. And that's your basic plank. I hope that was useful.